A desperate, haunting cry echoed across the wide valley, rolling over the quiet hills like a sudden storm. It happened so quickly, so unexpectedly, that no one in the peaceful little town even had a chance to understand what was going on. Within moments, the stillness of the day shattered, leaving everyone unaware of the tragedy unfolding nearby. A wealthy young man, looking sharp and polished in his designer suit, pushed his frail, gray-haired mother in her worn wheelchair toward the terrifying edge of Blackwood Cliff. The old woman trembled under her thin shawl as the rough wind brushed past her face. Below them, the powerful river raged violently, crashing against the jagged rocks with a roar that filled the entire canyon. The young man leaned in close to his helpless mother, his expression cold, emotionless, and unsettling. He whispered a few chilling words, meant only for her ears, words that made her eyes widen in fear. Then, without hesitation or remorse, he pushed the wheelchair forward with deliberate force, sending it rolling toward the cliff's deadly edge. The wheelchair began to roll faster and faster, picking up speed as it moved dangerously close to the cliff's edge. The old woman's terrified scream ripped through the air, sharp, raw, filled with pure fear, before the furious wind swallowed her voice completely, leaving nothing but a chilling silence behind. For a moment, it seemed as though everything had ended. The valley stood quiet and still, with no one around to witness the cruelty that had just taken place. There were no neighbors, no passers-by, no evidence left behind, nothing that could bring justice to the innocent woman who had been thrown toward death. But high up on the ridge, a loyal German shepherd named Rex had seen everything unfold before his eyes. Rex had always been more than just a pet. He was her silent guardian, her constant companion, and the only soul who truly felt her pain and understood her heart. His body stiffened as his instincts awakened. As the clouds shifted and sunlight broke through, Rex's muscles tightened with determination. Without a second of hesitation, he sprinted down the rocky slope with incredible speed and power, his paws kicking up dust as he moved like a force of nature driven by love and loyalty. The young man casually turned around, smirking as he pulled out his phone, believing everything was over and done. But before he could take another breath, Rex barreled into him with full strength, knocking him face first into the dirt and pinning him to the ground with unstoppable fury. Rex unleashed a deep, threatening growl, his sharp teeth just inches away from the young man's throat. The man froze completely, terror spreading across his face as he realized the dog was protecting the woman he had tried to kill. He could do nothing but stay still, overwhelmed by fear. Suddenly, Rex turned away from the man and sprinted urgently toward the cliff, barking with loud, desperate cries. His voice echoed across the canyon as he looked down at the disaster unfolding below, refusing to give up until someone heard his call. By a miracle, the wheelchair hadn't fallen all the way. It had gotten stuck on a dead tree wedged deep into the cliffside. The old woman clung to the tree with trembling hands, her body shaking as the raging river roared beneath her, threatening to pull her down at any moment. Rex barked again and again, louder each time, pouring all his strength and desperation into every sound. His cries traveled far across the valley, bouncing off the hills and trees, demanding help from anyone who might be out there. On a distant trail, two hikers suddenly stopped in their tracks. They heard Rex's desperate calls and looked across the valley. When they spotted the horrific scene, the wheelchair stuck, the woman hanging, and the dog calling for help, they immediately took out their phones and dialed emergency services. Within minutes, a rescue team arrived at the cliff. They quickly secured ropes, leaned over the dangerous edge, and reached out for the trembling woman. Experienced hands pulled her carefully upward until she was finally brought back to safety, sobbing and shaking with relief. The young man did not escape. The hikers had seen him near the cliff, and their statements were enough for the police to arrest him immediately. Meanwhile, Rex stayed faithfully by the old woman's side. She wrapped her arms around him, burying her face into his soft fur as tears flowed down her cheeks. Sometimes heroes don't wear badges. Sometimes they walk on four strong, loyal legs.